Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to our lecturer, Madam Wan Ariati and fellow classmates. We are from Group 1, will be presenting our Excel project. We decided to do the employee payroll systems of Manggala Resort. But before that, I would like to introduce myself and my team members who work hard together to complete this project. My name is Nur Haida binti Saiman, and together with me today, Putri Aina Asila binti Jamil, Nur Atasha binti Maksum, and Fatina Jiha binti Salim. Now let's begin with the introductions of the project. So, Manggala Resort was established on 8 October 2021. This 5-star resort offers 65 luxury villas in 4 design. It's spread over 26 hectares and it needs a lot of manpower, which resulting about 200 people have been employed. Since this resort is newly established, the system is a bit inefficient because the resort has a large number of employees and the employees are divided into several jobs and duties. Therefore, to overcome this issue, we decided to implement the employee payroll system to smooth up the payroll system management in Manggala Resort. This system will help the business to analyze and manage the employees' data efficiently and effectively. Moreover, the system will organize the data accordingly, which helps the business to be able reviewing the collecting data easily without any errors. Hence, the management will come out with a fast and less bureaucracy payroll system. Now let us look at the project significance. So what is the project significance that can be obtained by the organization? The first one is the employee will understand more details of their salary statement. It is because the payment slip is occupied with the details like employee's earning, employee's deduction, such as the bonus, allowances, EPF, and so. In this way, the management will be more organized as all the information has been clearly given to the employees. Okay. The second project significant that can be obtained by the organization is less burden for management to calculate the salary for 200 employees in a short time. A proper system is used to manage the data collected to produce a systematic data organization. With a better system, the management can have an effective and efficient job performance. So, thirdly, the employee able to get instant access to their payslip without must go through the management and all the procedure that consumed a lot of time just to get a payslip. It shows the system helps to reduce the bureaucracy in the organization because the employee can access their payment slip anytime, anywhere they desire. Last but not least, this system can help reduce and avoid mistakes of calculating like EPF, calculate the SOCSO, allowances, bonus, and so forth. Therefore, this system will make it easier for the organization to calculate the employees' salaries more regularly and correctly. So that is basically a little bit of our project background. Now I will show you guys a few functions that we have in our employee payroll system, such as the personal detail, overtime calculator, overtime summary, payment slip, and data analysis. So all these functions will be explained more by the rest of my team members, starting with Fatina Jiha. She will explain the login page and personal detail.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatina Habib Salim and today I will present about the login sheets. So as we can see right here, this is our employee login that we have ID number, names and enter button. So in order to the employee have access to their payroll system, they must insert their ID number right here. And then their name will automatic appear right here and they just have to click on this enter button right here. The function that we use in this login sheet is VLOOKUP function. Let's say we want to look up at 1002118. Now let's look up his name using the VLOOKUP right here. So if you type the VLOOKUP right here, you're gonna see you're gonna have this VLOOKUP value, and it's gonna be whatever we want to look up in the cell H11, which is right here. So the next is we have the table array. We use the employee data from A to V203. We choose the entire table. We go to the employee data. We choose the A4 right here. We select the entire table A4 until V203. So now we have name in the column B right here, which is our second column that is highlighted. So that's why we put number 2 right here as our column index number right here. And then next we have the range lookup. The range lookup right here, we have two options, which is true and false, but we're gonna choose false because for the unexact match. So we're gonna have the names for 100-218 Muhammad Fiqi bin Hashim. So if we want to change the ID numbers, let's say we want to choose 100-211, and then we click right here, the name will automatically updated. Iskandar Zulkarnain. So the employee already insert their ID number, they see that their name appear right here correctly, they just can go to or click on the enter button right here. The second function that we use in order to run this login sheets is hyperlink right here. I will show you how to do it. So firstly, you have to click on the right, and then this box will pop up on, and then we're gonna click on edit hyperlink, and then we use paste in this document, and we will select the cell references, which is A1, and then because we want to make it straight away to the home page, so we click home and then we click OK. So it will make this enter button go to the home page, so we can just click on, and then it will appear to the home page. And now I will explain about the personal details sheet or page. So now we can see this is our employee personal details, which is contain names, IC, address, employee ID, department position, race, contact number, their bank. So in the personal details page or sheet, the function that we use is VLOOKUP functions. Let's say we want to look up 100-211 ID, employee ID. Now let's look up his name using the VLOOKUP function. So if you type the VLOOKUP function, the VLOOKUP equal VLOOKUP right here, you will notice that you have this VLOOKUP value right here. VLOOKUP value. VLOOKUP value is gonna be whatever we want to look up in the cell I-19 right here. So if you want to look up 100-211 employee ID, and then we're gonna put the VLOOKUP value right here. Okay, so the VLOOKUP value is I-19, and then the table 3 is the employee data table from A4 to V203. We're gonna select the entire table from A4 to V203 at the employee data. Then we're gonna put it here as our table 3 table array. So next we have the column index number. The column index number is what we want to highlight. So for example, here we want to highlight about the employee name. So we go back to the employee data right here. So we will choose here column B. Column B is our second column, so we will put number 2 as our column index number, which we highlight, that we highlighted right here. So we choose 2 as our column index number as we want to highlight the column B. So next we have the range lookup. The range lookup, we have two options, which is true and false, but we're gonna choose false for an exact match. So right here we have the name for 100211, which is Iskandar Zulkarnain Benjamin. For this personal detail sheet, we use the same function, which is VLOOKUP function for IC number, for the address, for the department, for the position right here. The things or the details that change in the formula bar is the column index number right here. As we can see that the lookup value will be the same, which I19 right here. The table array will be the same, which is employee data from A4 to V203. We will choose and select the entire table, and then the index number will be number 3. As you see right here, it was number 3. Why is number 3? Because we want to highlight at the IC number. Personal details, we also use function, which is this button. As you can see right here is home button, to back to home. So I'm gonna show you how we do it. So we use the hyperlink. We just click on the right and pop up, and we choose edit hyperlink, and then we use the place in this document, and then we fill and select the cell references, which is A1, and then we select the page that we want to make it back, which is home button right here. So we choose home, and we uh, click on OK. So this is how the button work perfectly without any problems. So we will move to the next presenter.
My name is Putri Aina Asila binti Jamil, and
Next, I will explain about the overtime calculator. This is our employee overtime calculator. The data here can only be keyed in by the non-executive employee. First, I will explain about the calculation in this table. So for the regular, we use the function of if, that if the hours worked exceeding the regular hour, we show that the regular here is 8 hours. If false, it will appear the calculation of hours worked. While overtime, we also use the if function. Next, the total. Here we use the sum function that sum all of hours work, the sum of regular and overtime here for this. To get the pay for regular, we multiply the number here with the regular pay, which is 6 ringgit. For overtime, we use this and multiply with the overtime pay. To get the pay rate for the regular and overtime, we use the sum function where we add the regular and overtime to get this pay rate for this period. Now I will show you for the executive that want to key in the data here. Log out. So I will key in the ID number for executive. So the senior level, which is the executive, we go to OT calculator. So here it's stated that overtime is no. We use the VLOOKUP that based on this table. The data is still there from the earlier one. We just click the reset form. So the form has been reset. So the reset form here, we use the developer and command button. This is the code for the reform button. So for example, we want to key in the data. So the executive want to key in the data. The executive can still key in the date and day. But for example, they want to key in the time in. This will pop up where it warning the executive that they are not entitled for overtime, so they cannot key in the data here. So only the non-executive can key in the overtime calculator. So after the employee, the non-executive employees fill all these form and want to generate the overtime summary, just click and go to the overtime summary.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Suratasha binti Maksum. Will be present for OT summary and payslip. First, we go to OT summary first. For OT summary, which is overtime summary, is one to make the employee know what their total overtime from their total working hours. So for Muhammad Shabil here, the amount of his total overtime is 56 ringgit. But from where we get this 56 ringgit, we deduct 344 ringgit, which is total working hours, with 288 ringgit, which is total regular hours. This amount, 344 ringgit and 288 ringgit, we get from the OT calculator, linked with the OT calculator using a formula. So let's say here, logical test is 344 ringgit, and then the value if true also using the OT calculator K48, which is 344. If the value is false, we fill in RM0. So if these two amounts appear on this sheet, means that the employee has already filled in the OT calculator. But if the employee does not fill in the OT calculator, this amount will be not appear on this overtime summary. While for the employee ID here, we are using the formula equal login exclamation mark H11, so that this ID will be same on the login sheet. So the employee does not need to fill in their ID for each every time they want to check their overtime summary or their payment slip. While for the name, position and department, we are using VLOOKUP that taking from the employee data sheet. Next, we move to payslip. On the payment slip, the employee want to know what their net salary, the amounts of the allowance that he get, and also the total overtime hours. First, we go to the employee ID here. Same, we are using the equal login exclamation mark H11 to link the ID on the login sheet. While for the name, department, position, email, bank, account number, the deduction, which is EPF and SOCSO, basic salary, the allowance that the employee get, total leave taken, are also using VLOOKUP formula. For example, here we go to the employee name, the lookup value, we want to look up value of employee ID, which is located on H7. While for the table array, we took from the employee data sheet from A4 until T203, which is SOCSO column. Okay. As the name are located in the column number 2, so we put here, for example here. As the name are located in the column number 2, so we put column index number 2. It's because this is column number 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So column name are in the column index number 2. So here. So the name will appear on this table. While for the department, position and the others are also same using the VLOOKUP, but the difference is on the column index number. It depends on where the details are located in which column. While for the total allowance here, we total up the allowance that the employee get. For example here, Muhammad Shabil has get food allowance, medical allowance and coupon parking. So H24 plus H26 plus H28. Food allowance plus medical allowance plus coupon parking to get the amount RM230. While for the overtime here, we link to the OT summary sheet using if formula. As this amount has already get from this deduction, with these two deduction, this amount will be linked on the payment slip on here. So it is important to fill in the OT calculator first. If the employee does not fill in the OT calculator, the total of overtime will not appear on this overtime summary sheet. Then on the payment slip also will not appear. While for the gross salary, we need to know the amount of he get from the basic salary, their total allowance and overtime. So we are using the formula sum, which is basic salary plus total allowance plus overtime, and then this value will be appear on here. Well, for the total deduction here, EPF times gross salary plus SOTSO times gross salary. So 10% times RM2,086 plus 4% times RM2,086. And then we will get the value here. While for the net salary, we need to deduct for gross salary with total deduction. So gross salary minus with total deduction here. We put the sign equal bracket gross salary here minus with total deduction. So the value will be appear for the net salary. So this is the net salary for Muhammad Shabil. While for the total overtime hours, we are linked to the OT calculator using formula if. We took from this, which is the total overtime for Muhammad Shabil. But this format need to be set up in the custom hours and minute. Because if let's say we put in the numbers, the value will be different. As we want in the hours and minute, we need to change to the custom and change to hours and minute, which is here. So this value will be same on the OT calculator. Next, for the print button. If the employee want to print this payment slip, just click on this button. And then these features will be appear. For this button, we are using developer, which is we have assigned the macros, the print macro. We already set up the code for this print button. So this is the code for print button. Next, we go to the back to home button and go to OT calculator button. We are using this method, which is add insert. Choose the random shape, let's say this shape, and we need to insert the link. For example, go to home and need to set up the screen tip to make sure the employee know this button will lead to home page. So go to home. So the tip go to home will be appear. But if we does not set up the screen tip, it will be appear like this, and the employee does not know where this button will lead to. So this technique are same for the back to home button and go to OT calculator button. Then if the employee forgot to fill in their OT calculator, just click on this OT calculator and the employee are ready to fill in their overtime calculator. And that's all from me. Thank you, and I will pass to another presenter.
Thank you, Tasha. Hi, back to me again. My name is Nurhaida binti Saiman, and I will continue to explain about the project data analysis. For everyone information, we have limited the access of employee in data analysis sheet, where any modifications and editing in data analysis can only be done by the senior level employees such as the directors. Okay, let's say the employees from the entry level or the middle level, they wanted to make any changes in data analysis. For example, they click randomly in this box and this kind of message will be appear. It is because the data analysis sheet is protected. So in order for them to make any changes or editing or modifications in this sheet, they will need a password. Okay, so to protect the sheet of the data analysis, we just need to right click on the sheet of data analysis and you will see the options of protect sheet. Click the option and then you will see this kind of dialog box will be appear on your screen. So you have to key in the password first because we want to protect the sheet, so we need to key in the password and then click OK. And then they ask us to re-enter the password. Okay, so once we have protect the sheets, and if you want to make any modifications or changes in this sheet, for example, we right click here. The options such as the insert, delete is disabled for us, for the employee, okay, because they need the password. For example, if you want to make modifications in the rows, also is disabled. Okay, the options here is disabled. We cannot click it. Okay. However, if we want to protect the sheet and at the same time we want to give the permissions to the employee, for example, we give them the permissions to delete a content or maybe to insert in the data analysis, what we need to do is right click again and then we have to unprotect the sheet first. Okay, key in the password. Click OK. And then we have to protect the sheet again. Click the password, insert the password, and then we tick the options that we want to allow them. Okay, for example, format cell, format columns, format rows, insert columns. Okay, just click the options that you want for them to have the ability to modify this data analysis and click OK. Okay, and now the employee can make a modification because the options such as insert, delete, clear content is now disabled. Okay, but for me, even though there is a various way to protect the certain sheets, but the easiest and the simplest way is just right click on the sheet that you want to protect and then click the options of protect sheet. That's all. So basically the functions of protect sheet is to give the limitation access on a particular sheet. Moving on to the next point of my presentation. Okay, we are using pivot table and pivot chart to create the data analysis of the project. A pivot table basically is an interactive way to quickly summarize a large amount of data. You can use a pivot table to analyze a numerical data in details and answer anticipated questions about your data. Okay, so to create this pivot table, we select the data from employee data starting from A3 until V203. So from this, we can use these slices here to make us easier to look at a certain data at the time needed. Okay, after we select the data in employees data sheet, we went to the insert tab. And then you will see this pivot table command. And then we click at the pivot table command. From the table range, from here we choose to place it at the new worksheet. Okay? And then this is how it turns out. Okay, the data in the rows And the values, columns, and filters can be changed according to our preference. And as now we put departments in rows data and then net salaries in the values field, it is because we wanted to know the sum of net salary by department. Okay, but what if we wanted to know the sum of the basic salary earned by each department? Okay, it's very easy. What we need to do is just remove the net salary and drag down the basic salary to the values field. Down below is another pivot table that we create because we wanted to know sum of basic salaries by employees position. We use the same step as we did in the first pivot table, and this is how it turns out. Now we move to the pivot chart. So pivot chart will show the data in pivot tables in the forms of the chart. So in order to create this pivot chart, what we need to do is, the first step is click any cell in pivot table, and then we went to the insert tab, and then you will see here there is a pivot chart command, and then you click the pivot chart command. The dialog box will pop up and it shows several charts to be chosen from. So for our project, we choose the basic one, cluster column, and then we click OK, and this is how it turns out. Okay, so from this, any changes that we did to the pivot table will affect the pivot chart. So to illustrate the statement, let's assume we wanted to know the sum of gross salary by department. What we need to do is just remove the net salary, and then we drag down the gross salary to the values field. Okay, so this is how it turns out, and the pivot table will change as well. The pivot table, pivot chart. Okay, to make it more interesting, we can add as many data as we want at the same time. For example, we wanted to view the net salary and the gross salary both at the same time. Then we just need to drag down the net salary at the values field, and the chart will show there are two bars at the same times. As you can see here, the orange color represents the sums of net salary with the amount of 129,426 ringgit is the sums of net salary in the finance department, while 155,400 ringgit is the total amount for gross salary in finance department. On top of that, there are some filters that we can use to look at the particular data. For instance, if we wanted to know how many departments that have net salary less than 90,000 ringgit, so what we need to do is we just go to these row labels, click on the button, and it will show there are two filters that we can use. So we will use the value filters and click less than, because we wanted to know how many departments that have the net salary less than 90,000 ringgit. Click less than, and then we insert 90,000 in this box. Click OK, and the result is Kitchen and Food Productions department, also the operational department, has the sum of net salary less than 90,000 ringgit. Okay, not to mention, all the amount is put under the currency value as it will make us easier to notice and recognize. Okay, to cut down the hassle, we can just check the information that we want from here to the filters field. For example, we wanted to know the net salary of the chief steward in the kitchen and productions department. Then what we need to do is just drag the employee's position to the filters field, because chief steward is considered under the employee position. So we drag the employee position to the filters field, and then this is where the filters came up, and it shows all position. as we wanted to know the net salary for chief steward, so we must untick all and just click chief steward instead. Click OK. So here it shows the net salary earned by chief steward in kitchen and food productions department. Not just that, the slices here are to make the filtering process to become more faster and reachable. To begin with, we went to the pivot table analyze tab, and then we click on the insert slices command, and now we can click on the employees positions as we did manually before, and then you click OK, and this is how the slices will turns out. We now can click on any position that we want without having to drag to the field here anymore. But if you want to look at all position except for 3 position, then all we need to do is just hold the control button on your keyboard and click on the position that you don't want to see. So this is the charge that going to be turns out. Okay. And then another example, if we want to look at more than one position at a time, then we just need to put the cursor at the first positions that we want to see and drag the cursor all the way down to the last position that we want to see in the chart. Okay. So the graph will change as well as the pivot table. Therefore, that will be the end of everything that needed to be said in this project data analysis. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Putri Aina Asila binti Jamil. Now I'm going to explain about the employee data. So here is a sheet for employee data. We collected 200 employee data here that consists of ID number, name, IC, race, and a lot of other more. So we created the ID number that is unique and different from one another because it is easy for the company to detect the employee using the ID number instead using the name. And the ID number is also important to link with another sheet. So here we have the net salary, which is the gross salary minus the deduction, while the gross salary here is the number of basic salary plus food allowance, medical allowance, and parking coupon. And employee data, we also have the table here where the SUKSO EPF basic salary that is different for each management level. We also have this food allowance, medical allowance, parking coupon, and a table for the access of data analysis where only the senior level have the access to it. Next, we also have this table where the average basic salary, we use the average function, minimum basic salary, we use minimum function, maximum function. For total amount of basic salary, we use the sum function. So for example, if the manager or the company want to know the total amount of net salary, so just click the function here, use the sum function, and we will insert the data of net salary, drag it, and click OK. So it will appear the total amount of net salary.
So as conclusion, with the excellent payroll system, it can help us to improve the management at Mangala Resort. It is because we use various functions in Excel that can enhance the efficiency and make the payroll system run smoothly. For example, the function that we use in this project is hyperlink, average function, max function, min function, if function, pivot table, and data validation. That's all from us. Thank you.